Asia is generally not the place to move or to go to if you're looking for a second citizenship. But there's one little-known citizenship by investment program in Asia, and today we're going to talk about it and who might benefit from it. And so what I've often said is, if you want to live in Asia, it's a great place for consumer conveniences, particularly in Southeast Asia. The weather is good, and the taxes are very friendly for foreigners. But what you're not getting by living in Asia is citizenship. And so you can live in Asia. I prefer Malaysia, others like Thailand, the Philippines, and others. But if you're looking for a second citizenship, you need to get it through your family tree by descent. You need to get it by investment. You need to get it some other way. Nomad Capitalist helps our clients in all those different ways get citizenships. And quite frankly, the place where you move to may not be where you want to have your citizenship. There's a case to be made that many Asian countries, you want to live there as a foreigner, have your citizenship somewhere else. And the good news about Asia, if you want to live there, is that I think that they're pretty open-minded to wherever you come from. They don't care if you're American or St. Lucian. They don't care if you're Irish or Georgian. It really makes no difference to most of those Asian countries. Do you meet the criteria? You're in. There's not really much judgment about where you come from or where your passport's from. But there's one country in Asia where if you make a donation, you can be granted citizenship. And I've had different feelings about this over the years. But it's the same country that Angelina Jolie is a citizen of, and that is the Kingdom of Cambodia. We've talked about Cambodian citizenship going back to about 2013, when I spent quite some time there. And my initial thoughts were, this just doesn't seem right. And I don't think all the people who are involved in this program probably are doing it right. But I have come around to see that there are some lawyers who can process what is effectively a citizenship by investment program, in that there's a prescribed investment that you need to make, and it's available to anybody. They don't discriminate. It's not like, oh, Americans are more likely to get it than someone from Thailand next door. It's not per se citizenship by investment like what you'd find in the Caribbean, where there's actually a whole act about it. But what it is there is a standing order that if you donate money to the country, or if you invest money into the country, that the king will grant citizenship to you. And so there is some legal framework to do this, but it's not something so commoditized that they're inviting people to come in and they're marketing the program. Now, there are countries where there are legal ways to get citizenship by things like making donations, like making investments, but there are certain people who do it the wrong way. You saw that in the Comoros, for example, the African islands in the Indian Ocean back in the mid-2010s. I went through that program, and the people I worked with were legitimate, but there were other people who worked through people who were not legitimate. And so that's why the program there ultimately got shut down. That was a more commoditized and marketed program. Cambodia's is not. The government is actually processing these cases faster than they used to, where if you donate 1 billion Cambodian rial, which is about $250,000, or if you invest, I believe 1.25 billion Cambodian rial, so about $320,000, $320,000, depending on the exchange rate, you'll be granted citizenship. Now, you might think, well, why would I donate $250,000 when I can invest $312,000? It's because the investments have to be actively managed, and they generally shouldn't be like in the capital city of Phnom Penh or in other touristy areas. So if you're looking to go and start a garment factory, for example, in a more rural area or a smaller city, and you're going to actively run your garment factory and hire people, then that could be something that qualifies. But what I've heard is those are kind of difficult. Most people just make the donation. Now, what we're seeing in the Caribbean is what I've been telling you for years. Prices of citizenship are eventually going to go up. The Caribbean is now raising the price. You're going to have a $200,000 floor for those programs. And so $250,000 is not that much more. Cambodia's passport from a visa-free perspective is substantially worse than a Caribbean program. You need visas to go to many places. What you don't need is a visa to go to any of the other 10 ASEAN countries. And so there are 10 countries that you can go to in this Southeast Asian network. And so a lot of people need an e-visa to go to Vietnam. Cambodians do not. Now, is the e-visa very hard to get? No, not at all. You would not go out and spend $250,000 and get Cambodian citizenship to avoid a couple minutes of paperwork to go to Vietnam. But you have this higher level of status. And I think it's interesting. I've talked about as a fourth or fifth passport, considering some kind of African passport, that if the African Union becomes more integrated and they open up travel to people to go all over Africa. There may be benefits of investing. There may be, in the future, some kind of EU-like ability to invest better into African economies, to where having an African passport not only could be a safe haven in crazy times as Africa kind of pushes away from the West and says, we want to do things our way. We're not going to follow what you want to do. Cambodia being part of ASEAN might offer some of that. But what's also interesting is, a lot of countries in the Americas are very open to people buying their property. Asian countries generally are not. Now, Malaysia, where we host Nomad Capitalist Live, our annual event, you can buy property and you can own land as well as a foreigner, with a few exceptions. So you can't buy raw land in Cambodia as a foreigner. A lot of I think pretty much all of the village captains, I think they're called, they will not sign off in Phnom Penh on a foreigner buying some of the lowest priced real estate like shop house apartments. Or you certainly can't own an entire apartment building. You'd have to be a citizen. And so some of the people that I work with, they set up Cambodian companies. There's a whole operational cost of buying some of that stuff. If you're going to invest millions of dollars, that might be worth it. But if you just wanted to buy an apartment building, I'm a believer in Cambodia real estate. I have been for years. But you can't do that. You can't even buy some of these shop house apartments that are very affordable in great city center locations because no one's signing off on it anymore, because basically you own some share of the land. What you can buy now as a foreigner is very expensive condominium projects, which, you might pay double the price of what I paid for my house in the middle of Kuala Lumpur to live in some up-and-coming, quote-unquote, neighborhood. Some of the prices of these condominium projects marketed to foreigners are insane. And I would imagine there's some impact, much like in Sihanoukville in the casino region. I imagine there's some impact of people from China, for example, coming, and they've just got some money that maybe isn't the cleanest money, and they're just looking to dump it into something. Cambodia does have a, My Second Home program now, the CM2H. There was talk it would lead to citizenship. I'm not convinced that will happen unless you live there and learn the language, but you can have it for residents. And the tie-in was buy real estate, but buy expensive real estate. It just wasn't a deal. So if you have Cambodian citizenship, you can buy land anywhere in the country, including you can buy some of the most prime real estate in the city center of Phnom Penh for some very, very low prices. It has gone up over the years, but some of those places are still very, very affordable by global standards. Now, what I'm hearing chatter about from a few people is, how does Cambodian citizenship compare to a Caribbean citizenship? For visa-free travel, there is no comparison. So somebody who is American who says, I don't want to be sticking around in the U.S. when my investments go way up, my Bitcoin goes way up, I just want to get a second passport and get out of Dodge. Yeah, Cambodia is probably not the one that you want. For that kind of person, this is maybe a fourth or a fifth passport. I'm a big believer now, for certain people who want plan B, C, D, E, and F, there are some exotic places. I go to Cambodia. It's no longer that exotic to me. I feel perfectly comfortable there, perfectly safe. I think there's a lot of opportunities. It's a frontier market. That comes with the good and that comes with the bad. They really haven't had a recession outside of COVID since like the 90s or even before. So I believe it. But I think a more exotic second passport as part of the portfolio could be a good thing. It does not replace a Caribbean passport for your ability to travel, unless we've had a couple clients, hey, all I care about is traveling around Asia. I think that a number of the Asian countries probably wouldn't be too judgmental from what I've seen about, hey, okay, it says you're Cambodian, you're Cambodian. They might ask you a couple of questions. I think that what I've heard is like more of the questions will be asked in Cambodia. But I think that there's kind of some growing awareness of this, which is what I like. I like that it seems, I'm feeling there's more legitimacy. I kind of looked at it with a lawyer that we trust, and I feel it could be good. Again, I'm not saying all the options to doing this are clear and clean, but I think there are some avenues that are clean to do this. So for $250,000, give or take, you get citizenship that gives you the rights to own land in a frontier country in Asia. If you're only looking at it as like, how do I own some land somewhere? Buying land in Bulgaria is cheaper. Buying land in Armenia is cheaper. Buying land in various places in Eastern Europe is probably cheaper than buying land in Cambodia, because you've seen, the prices of some of these places, there's so much demand, particularly from China, but other places in Asia as well, that I just think that, you're not going to get as good of a deal as you would get in some of the countries in Eastern Europe where the population is actually declining. Japan would be a place in Asia where you can probably get, cheaper land. You can own land there as well in some of those rural areas where people are dying off, the kids don't want it anymore. If you're looking at which passport to get, Nomad Capitalist helps clients figure it out. I think having a plan B is important. Having a plan C, I've said now, is important. You want a couple extra passports. We can help you figure this out. I don't think Cambodia is one that frequently gets mentioned with actual clients, but there are certain people who just want to be in Asia. And listen, we had a guy, he said, I everywhere I want to go is in Asia. Everywhere I want to go. And so, okay, I wouldn't want to be only Cambodian. That'd be kind of restrictive. You'd have to get a visa to go to Europe, visa to go to the US, and probably good luck with that if you're only Cambodian. But because you're not like one of the wealthy Cambodians they might give a visa to, they're like, But you'd have to get visas to go to a lot of places except for around Asia. But hey, in his particular case, I don't think he did Cambodia, but I think he actually had citizenship by descent from his parent in Asia. But I just think that you want to know what your options are. That's what we help people do. If you've got over $1 million in liquid assets, you can go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply and learn how we help people put together passport portfolios, as well as all the other things that come with being a nomad capitalist: lower taxes, asset diversification, asset protection. I've been telling you for years I'm a fan of Cambodia. Not sure about the citizenship for most people, but it's worth knowing about. Just like Egypt, just like to a lesser extent Turkey, that probably works for more people. So, bad visa-free travel, ability to own real estate and land, which is harder for foreigners than it's ever been in terms of just owning like apartments where you have part of the land underneath. If you want to become an okna, that's like knighthood. There's a program that you can get into that as a citizen. This is one of those things where they say you can change your name. I think that's dodgy. I don't recommend dodgy stuff. I think it's logistically bad because you're not going to change your name in your other passports. I'm just against name changes in general. It seems dodgy. You're going to be answering questions for the rest of your life. I don't do dodgy stuff. Just don't do dodgy stuff, please. I'm the goody two-shoes, they say, right, of offshore. But, do you want to live in Cambodia? It's not tax-friendly. Is it the best place to live in Asia? I think, actually, Kuala Lumpur, because Cambodia uses the dollar. Malaysia in general, Kuala Lumpur, Penang, whatever, is actually cheaper because the ringgit has softened. Cambodia being dollarized is not the cheapest place in Asia. Could I live there? Yeah, listen, it's growing. There was one skyscraper when I first went to Cambodia. Now they're popping up all over the place. They've got a Rosewood Hotel. They've got beautiful colonial hotels. They've got shops. My beloved TWGT is there. They got a lot of stuff going on. So if you like to watch that could be an interesting plan C, D, or E. And again, for some people, it might just be buy an overpriced apartment, get the residence program, don't have the citizenship. That's your backup plan. Citizenship, of course, offers more permanence. Again, this is not something for everybody, but I just think it's an interesting option to be aware of if you want something in Asia. Most people won't, but for someone who wants all those plans, that's something that might not be a bad idea. This is some of the stuff, by the way, when you come to Nomad Capitalist Live, you hear us talk about, and you get to meet people who've actually done some of this stuff. You get to meet people who live in some of these exotic places and invest in these exotic places. So if you're looking to start out there, that could be something to do. Come to Nomad Capitalist Live and we talk about this. It's our 4-day annual event. Asian citizenship, something that's worth considering. This one's kind of off the wall.